What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be showing you how to basically schedule a WebEx session for the Graduate Writing Center. And the purpose of it, really what's going to go down in that session. What does it mean for you as a student? What does it mean for the professor? And yeah, we're just going to break it down because there have been a lot of issues in terms of using this to its full potential and really just going over those troubleshooting and solving those problems as you go. And really, that's one of the biggest things. So as I'm going here, I'm going to schedule this. So I'm going to go to the Graduate Writing Center on the Longwood page. I'm going to type that into the search tab. And what's going to come up first is, well, the page. And on this page, you're going to be seeing a bright orange tab, Make an Appointment. And what this is going to do is bring you to the scheduled appointments and basically all the time slots that you can choose from in the upcoming week, 2 weeks, etc. And each session runs around 30 minutes. So you want to plan ahead, make sure you have 30 minutes of free time. So I already scheduled one, but just for the sake of you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and click on one of these. I'm going to continue. So I click Thursday, and you're going to put in all your information. And then what happens is they're going to send you a confirmation email. And that confirmation email basically asks you to send them your document in a Google Docs form, and share it with the professor, so then they can bring it into your appointment and go over that with you. So basically, once you send all that in, the time of your appointment arrives, and they will send you an email linking you straight to that session. And this is my email, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and then once I click on that link, it'll take me straight to the session.
Well, thanks for meeting with me. When you connect to the WebEx meeting with the Graduate Writing Center, you will see me on the other end here, and we'll do any necessary troubleshooting. If you have a little trouble with your audio, as sometimes happens, I can invite you to the meeting via phone. And so if you're having a little trouble getting connected, just keep trying to connect. And if you absolutely can't get connected, be sure to send me an email. I can sometimes give you some advice for troubleshooting, or we can find another way to do it via email if you run into that. Once you're at the meeting, I'll invite you to the meeting. We'll talk for a second, usually about the paper, about how the class is going for you, before we move to looking at the document itself. And then one of the best things about WebEx is that we can actually move to looking at the paper at the same time ourselves. So what I'm going to do now is switch to what's called share screen, where you'll be able to see what's on my screen. So we'll do that right now. And here we've pulled up the screen, and let me switch over to the right paper here. And there it is. So here's the document. Like I have explained, I will comment on your paper in advance, because graduate papers are long and fairly complicated. If I tried to just read them right while we were both sitting here, I'd have to skim, and I wouldn't give you very good feedback. So I'll always have read your paper in advance, and I'll have commented on it in advance, so you'll be able to see what I said, and then we can talk it over. I've used these comment bubbles to explain how I use comment bubbles. And do know that I'll never change. You're giving me the right to edit your paper so I can make these comments. I will never change anything on your paper. Your paper is yours. I'll never just go in and alter anything. So the text will be highlighted, and there will be the comments in the margins. And some of the comments will be small scale stuff like grammar and punctuation. About those, being an English professor, I can be relatively certain that I'm right. So like here, APA style requires a running header and a page jumper, and this paper doesn't have one. So I flagged here that needs to be there. So sometimes I'll point out smaller things like that are certainly objectively true, and we'll talk about elements of APA style that you may not be familiar with, or some of the finer points of grammar that you may have forgotten, since sometimes it's been since 8th grade since some people really talked about grammar. Other times I'll just pose a question. I do understand that you're graduate students in your fields, and I am not a graduate student in your field. So you're going to have a certain level of expertise in your discipline that I don't necessarily have. So I will give my feedback as a reader, but it'll be up to you to decide what to do with that feedback. It helps to know where a reader gets confused or where a reader doesn't follow you, because usually that means that you need to explain a little better or say a little more. Where I get confused, another reader very well might. But on the other hand, occasionally I just might not know your discipline well enough. So it's important to know that when you meet with the Writing Center, control of your paper remains with you. You don't have to mechanically do every single thing I say. If I raise a question, sometimes it's just a legitimate question to think about. And so here's an example where I did it on the paper. This sentence talks about, so social cognitive theory, as previously noted, is the idea that the media people consume shapes the reality and understanding of identities. So here I posed a question that media, as far as I understand it, might be one application of social cognitive theory, but social cognitive theory, I think, talks about a whole lot more than media. So I questioned, is it right to say that social cognitive theory is simply a way of looking at media? Or should that be more exactly worded as a particular application of social cognitive theory? And again, that's up to the writer of the paper to decide. I'm not a media studies expert. So those are the two types of comments I'll make. Sometimes bigger comments about your ideas, where you can think about whether I'm right or there might be some reason to think that I might be wrong, but where it's helpful to know where one reader tripped up because another reader might trip up there as well. But it's up to you to decide what to do with it. And other ones will be objective things like formatting and grammar that you should take seriously. So once you read the comments through, I know that occasionally a student thinks that if they've read the comments already, why have the WebEx meeting? What's the point of us talking to each other? And there's a couple of important reasons for that. For one, so we can kind of talk about the big picture, how these all go together. These comments show up as individual little comment bubbles, not as kind of an overall bigger picture. The other thing would be that it's possible that about some of the parts of your paper, didn't fully see where you were coming from, or maybe you didn't fully see where I was coming from with the comments. And talking that over with each other allows us to clarify that. And I find that both the student and I understand each other much better after we've had the talk. So the meeting is an important part of the process.
Let's pretend the audio isn't working, and
Okay.
we can go back through real quick. So basically, if your audio is not working, do you want to go back to so I can see we can see both of our screens?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll stop screen sharing.
All right. So the audio isn't working. So right now I have it muted. Let's how do we get back to that audio setting? It's up top, correct?
Okay, yeah, a couple of things that you can do. So one thing, as you mentioned before, was check your browser. Another thing is occasionally here in the audio setting, you need to make sure that your settings, that these two things are set on. I did once have a bunch, have some problems with it because it was actually connected, but they were set like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't hear you now, even though the audio is actually connected. I'm gonna fix it here, and that won't necessarily show up according to regular troubleshooting, because it is actually registering the audio and video, just not in a way that you can hear. So that's one thing, and then of course, if all else fails, I can always do a phone invitation. That's right. I've done lots and lots of meetings with students where where we see each other over the computer and we talk over the phone, and that's just fine. We can hold a meeting just as effectively that way. That's one reason why it's important when you fill out the meeting, the information when you set up your appointment, it will ask you for your phone number. It's important that you remember to put your phone number in there, because that's the only way I have your phone number if we need to do backup audio. And also, yeah, one other thing about that is be sure to check that you remember what email you put in there. I know that many students have many different email accounts. And one problem we have sometimes run into in trying to have a meeting is that somebody will have 7 different email accounts, and it turns out they forgot which one they gave when they made the appointment. So I'll have sent the meeting request, and I'll be waiting, and I don't have a way of knowing your other 6 email accounts. So the student will be waiting and not understanding, I don't know, a different email account, not understanding why they haven't gotten the invitation yet. I'll be wondering why you haven't responded yet. And so that's been one confusion sometimes. Be sure that you remember which one you used when you set up the meeting.
Yeah, and I'm just going to show them real quick. So if you look down here, you see all these tabs, and there is actually a it looks like a bubble, but it's a comment bubble. And that is also, I just want to point out another way to talk if your audio is not working and you can't necessarily tell him, or he's trying to tell you to answer your phone and you don't know to answer your phone. Sometimes you can just type into the chat on the side, and I'm just going to type in walk, and it'll come up, and they can view that, and that's just another way to talk during this session. But that is that's pretty much it, right, Dr. Heading? In terms of the usefulness and like how exactly to set it up. That pretty much captures everything.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's been a pretty that's a pretty clear guide to the process, and then we'll go through through that, and then I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we haven't talked about. But I think that's a pretty clear guide, and it's important to if you run any problems, just email me. I will be checking my email if I'm expecting to have a meeting. So if something's happening where you're having trouble connecting, send me an email, and we can figure things out that way too.